Hey there, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm doing a two-part video class, basically, on how to make this card with 2 shades of foil using the Cricut Foil Transfer Tool. So as I mentioned, part 1, which you're in now, is using 2 colors of foil with the Cricut Transfer Tool. It's going to walk us through the foiling process in Design Space and with the Cricut Maker. Part 2 will cover cutting the greenery with some tips and card assembly. So hope to see you in both. To start off, we are going to foil the star. And so I'm in Cricut Design Space and I'm going to start a new project. So I'm going to click on this big white button here. And then we're going to go over here on the left hand side and we're going to upload the star design. Now the star design is available on the Silhouette Design Store. It is like $1.49 at full price with the SVG. You will need to purchase the SVG file along with the Silhouette file for you to open it in Design Space. You have to have the SVG. So I will link that in the video description and over on my blog so you guys can find it easily. So I'm going to hit this upload icon, which is the cloud with the arrow. It's going to say upload it. Go here. You can see I've already done this a couple times, but just ignore that because we're going to pretend that's not there. And we're going to, under image, hit upload image. Then over here you want to hit browse. It's going to open your sort of navigation within your computer. I'm already in the folder where I store this, so you just would navigate to the folder where you save it. And then I know it's this one, it's the NORDIC Star Joy decoration, and I just need to make sure I'm opening the scalable vector graphic version, which under this category, you see this column is type of file. So you just want to look for scalable vector graphics. You will also get the Silhouette Studio document as well as a text document. Obviously neither one of those is going to work in Cricut Design Space, so just click the SVG, the scalable vector graphic, and hit open. It's going to give you this error message that says that there are text elements that are not supported. Import anyway, hit continue. I don't even know what that's referring to because the multiple times I have opened this file in Design Space, it does not, there's nothing missing from it, so I'm not sure what that's talking about. So you can rename it here at this point and put tags in if you would like. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hit save. Brings you back to this screen, and so click on it, and then over here on the right you're going to click insert images, and it's going to bring in the star. And you can see over here on the right there are a lot of pieces to this star. So right now the whole thing is grouped together, so that's good. We're going to leave it as like that, but we do need to resize it to make it bigger for a card. So I know from my experience that the best size for this, so up here on the size section, I guess we'll call it, you want to make sure that your lock is closed so that it says lock proportions. You want to keep the proportions locked. It's hard to see when it's not locked, at least for me in my old eyes. So like you can click it and you can kind of tell that it's open. So close it and make sure. You will know if it's not because once you change the width, the height won't change, so it's going to look crazy if this lock isn't locked. So you just undo and then relock it. But anyway, so ours are locked. So you're going to change the width box to 3.7 inches. And the height will change proportionally. So that's the size that we're going to use on the card. I'm going to zoom in here using the zoom at the bottom down here. I'm going to change the fill color of the star from red to white because we're going to actually foil this on white cardstock. Plus the red's a little distracting. So if you go up here in the upper left to line type next to cut, you will see this red. And I'm going to change it to white. Alright, so now we're going to pick the parts of the design that are going to be each of the foil colors since we're using 2 foil colors. And I know I want these sort of leaf branch looking things to be gold. I also want the inside of the letters, these little designs inside them, to be gold as well. Now when you go over here to the right, you'll see that each element is its own, I don't know, layer, line, whatever you want to call it. So we have to find the leaf elements and then the little elements inside the letters and turn those to gold. So right off, you see three of the leafy branch things are right there. So you just click on the first one. You can see it selects it over here. Hold down your Shift key or your Control key, either one will do it, and select the next one. Now I'm on a PC, so with a Mac, I am guessing that if you hold down the Command key, it'll let you do this as well. Now once you've selected those three, lift off the Shift key and then scroll down over here on the right until you see in that first group the last two leaves. So then hold down Shift or Control or Command again and click those two. And so now you can see it's got all 5 of the leaves. So what we're going to do is go up here back to the line type area, and it's defaulting to cut, but we don't want to cut it, we want to do foil. So you're going to click the drop down arrow and pick foil, and we are going to use the fine tip for the gold sections, and you can see it changes to gold. If there's any part that changes to gold at this point that you don't want, you're going to have to go over here on the right and see what you may have selected accidentally and just change that back or change it to the next step. Now we're going to click off this because we're good with those. Alright, so now we want to pick just the sections of the design that are inside the letters. This is a little tricky because when you go scroll down here under this group, it's got all these individual little pieces of the inside of the letters as well as the letters themselves. Now normally you could just click one group to select them, but for whatever reason when you click this group it selects the entire thing, and even when you ungroup it, it doesn't ungroup. So I'm going to do this the slightly harder way, which is just click off of everything, and then you can tell here, hopefully, you can sort of see that it's selecting this section selects these pieces that are inside the letters. So like as I'm randomly picking things, you can see over here it's highlighting the items in the letters. So you know that this section are those detailed bits. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to click on the first one, hold down Shift or Control or Command depending on what kind of computer you're on, and just click all these. Then when you get as far as you can, lift off the Shift, Control or Command key, scroll down, hold the Shift, Control or Command key down again, and then keep clicking until you have picked all of the detailed design pieces within the letters. And you'll see that it's kind of selected. There's a box all the way around these sections that are inside the letters but not the letters themselves. Then we're going to go back up to line type, go to foil, fine, and you will see them change to gold. Gold is the default color, so that's pretty easy. Now I'm going to click off the entire thing, and now we need to change the rest of it to red. So over here on the right, we're going to go back up to the top, and so we've got the leaves that are turned to gold, but now we need to pick everything else in that group. So I've selected the first heart, holding down Shift, Control or Command again, and then just clicking to pick all of the sections that are going to be red. Lift off the key, scroll down, hold the key down again, Shift, Control or Command depending on your computer, and keep clicking until you have selected anything that it says cut basically at this point. When you get to the foil fine, just don't select that. So we're good to go on that portion. So now we're going to go over here to line type again, go to foil, and this time instead of picking fine, we're going to pick bold. Now you can see the defaults to gold. So next to it is this box with the gold outline. I'm going to click on that, and you can see the gold is checked, so we're going to check red. And so you'll see the portions of the design change to red. All right, now we want to get the outline of the letters red as well. So back over on the right, continue scrolling down. And for whatever reason, now you can just hit the group, that small little group, because it's just that entire group is going to turn red. We're going to go back to line type, drop down menu, hit foil, go to bold, and then again click the color box next to it and hit red. And so now the foil design is done. It's important that you get each of the elements that are going to be foiled in the different colors that color here, because that's the way that when you hit make it, the program is going to know to divide those into two different steps. So you do have to do I'm not speaking very well today. You do have to change the elements of the design that are going to be bold and red to that color and that size, and then the elements that are going to be gold and fine have to be that type, set for that type over here on the right. Now we're going to leave the star itself as is, so it's on a cut, and that's good. All right, now we're going to select the whole thing by clicking and dragging over it, and at the very bottom over here on the right, we're going to click attach. And so that's going to make it all go on one mat. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. That's probably a lot. And I'm just going to click and drag this up a little bit. All right, now we need to put a shadow layer, like a star that's slightly bigger, behind this piece. So pretty easy. We're just going to go over here to shapes on the left, click the star, and it's going to draw a star here. Now obviously that one's a little bit small, so we need to make it bigger. And I know just from my experience with this project that what we want to do is we want to change the size of the star to 4 inches wide. So just make sure you've selected that one and go back up to the size box. In the width box, type in 4.00, hit enter, and that's going to make the star the correct size. Now if you want to, you can also change the color. I like to do this because we want to again tell the computer software program that this is going to be different from this. And to check the sizing on it, what you would do is, well, so that's in front, so we'd go up here to arrange, send to back, and then you can put it behind the white star and make sure it's the right size. If it looks wrong, then you could resize it at this point, or if you want it thicker or a thicker border, make it a little bit bigger. But one thing to keep in mind is that the red foil sheets only come in 4 inches by 6 inch widths. So your design needs to be smaller than 4 overall in order to fit on the foil sheet and work correctly. So that's why we've got this at 3.7 is the maximum width on this. And then everything else is at a little bit like 3.5, a little bit over that. So we know that this will work within the confines of that sheet. Now there are 12 by 12 inch sheets that are both in gold and silver. So if you wanted to do a design that's bigger than 4 inches, like you want to do something to hang on the wall or something, you're limited to those two colors, and you would have to obviously make them less than 12 or 11.5, which is the maximum sort of width that you can design anything on the mats for the Cricut Maker. All right, so at this point we're ready to go, and we want to make sure that this default star is set to cut, which is the default cut, so we're good. Now we want to go over here and save the design up here on the right. You can rename it whatever you like here, and then you would hit save. Like once you type something in, oh, the green button will be highlighted, so that's where you'd hit save. I'm not going to do that because I have already saved this multiple times, so I'm going to hit cancel. But once you've saved it, then we would go and hit make it over here on the upper right. That's the best part. All right, so it's going to sort the project into mats by color. So we should have 2 mats, one for the white and one for the red. And that's what we've got. All right, so over here, it is showing you that the first thing it's going to do is the white, and it's going to do the fine foiling, then the bold foiling, and then the cutting. That's good. So we just know that we're going to do the gold foil, then the red foil, and then it's going to cut. And then the second mat is going to be for the shadow layer, which is the red mat. All right, so now we can hit continue. It is connecting to my maker, hopefully. And it's going to ask you to set the materials. So I'm going to hit browse all materials, and I want heavy cardstock. It's actually more like medium cardstock, but for the default, I'm just going to do heavy, so it adds a little more pressure on the cut. Hit done. Now on pressure, you want to change this from default to more. I can just tell you from having done this project several times, more pressure is good, especially on the bold foiling. So just take my word for it and hit more. Now it's going to show us here that what we've got to do is we need to load the foil transfer tool with the fine tip in clamp B. We need to tape the gold foil face up onto the base material, which is the cardstock, and then we're going to load the mat. And then it's telling us here that the next step will be the red foil with the bold tip on the transfer tool. And then the last thing will be the fine point blade. So I'm going to go over to the machine and load up the foil. Okay, so let's talk about the foil transfer tool for the Maker, and I think this also works on the Explorer. I only have the Maker, so that's all I know. And the foil. All right, so we're going to be using red foil or ruby out of what is called the Ruby Sampler package. It's as far as I know, the only people who currently make foil that works with this tool is Cricut, because it's pressure sensitive foil. It's not like glue or toner the way some of the other foils are that we are probably more familiar with. So the red foil only comes in this pack, and it only comes in this size. So they are 4 by 6 inch sheets. It comes with fuchsia, rose gold, and ruby. So fuchsia is the one you're seeing on the front there, very shiny. And here, and then I'll open it so you can see the rest of it. And then and here you can see I have some pages that I've already done the star with. So so this is the ruby color right here. It comes with transfer tape, like several sheets of the tape, which is really nice. And I like this tape quite a bit, actually. And then you saw the ruby there on the front, and then the rose gold. I'm going to get a fresh sheet of red out here. And I'm going to show you the rose gold too. And there's the rose gold. I don't know if you can see that. But here's like the rose gold against the gold. You can kind of see. It's pretty. It's very pretty. Okay, so you're going to need 1 sheet of the ruby and 1 sheet of tape for this. And then you will also need some gold foil. Now you've got a choice with the gold foil to get the 4 by 6 sheets, or you can get them in 12 by 12 inch sheets. When you purchase the foil transfer tool, you get this little pack of gold and silver foil. So if you're only going to make like a couple of these, that should be plenty for this. Oh, and here's my sheet of tape I've already started. But if you wanted to like assembly line these and make a lot of them, I'll have some tips about that at the end, but you could get 12 by 12 inch sheets of the gold. So something to consider. Now the foil transfer tip, or the tool itself, actually let me take this out. Yikes. This is like the blade, if you will, and then it comes with 3 tips. And you can tell by the number of lines on the tip which is which. So 1 line would be the fine point, 3 lines is the bold, and 2 lines is the medium. So we know for this project we're going to use the fine tip first. So I'm going to set these to the side. They are magnetic, so they do stick nicely in your Maker drawer there. So to install this, you push down the plunger. There's like a hole here. Feed the foil tip in. The end that does not have the lines on it goes in, and then release the plunger. It should have just taken it with it, but it's magnetic basically. So like once you release the plunger and push it in, it's good to go. Alright, so I will get this in the Maker in a second. I'm going to set this off to the side. Okay, so we're going to do the gold foil first. So I'm going to take 1 sheet of that. I'm going to set the red off to the side. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do this on the mat. Alright, so I've got a standard grip mat, and I have a piece of 8.5 by 11 white cardstock. This is not expensive cardstock. It's like kind of cheap from Office Depot, I think. So you don't have to be using expensive cardstock for this, at least for especially this part. Now we know that the Maker leaves about 1/4 of an inch all the way around that it will not cut in or foil in, so we have a little bit of leeway as far as where we can place the foil as well as the tape, because you don't want the tape covering any of the foil where your design is going to go. So that is something to bear in mind with these smaller sheets. The biggest you can go width-wise is 4. So, and really you can't even do that because you need to hold this down with something. So you have to be within the boundaries of the tape on this piece of foil. So we're at 3.7. So we're going to be fine as long as I go fairly close to the edges with the foil. Alright, so this is the transfer tape that comes with the foil. It's kind of sticky, but it's reusable, and so I really like it. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to try to overlap just a little bit of the foil. Plus the bottom we're not going to really foil, so I know I'm okay. And I'm just going to overlap the edge of the foil and then stick it to the paper. You also want to be really careful with the foil on the mat because it will stick. Like barely touching it, it'll stick. And well, at first you don't want to get foil on your mat, which I did kind of here, you can sort of see it. Because it messes up your mat, and then it also uses the foil. I mean, it's going to remove the foil, and we don't want that. Okay, so now so I put tape on here. I'm going to go to the opposite end, and I'm going to try to grab just the edge of the foil. So you can see like static electricity helps with that. So I've got the foil, and I'm pulling it taut, and I'm going to press it down, press the tape down. I've got a little bit here that's a little bit wrinkled, so I'm going to try to peel it. So here's the nice thing about the tape. You can peel it off. Maybe. I'm going to smooth it out and then repress it down. And it doesn't remove the foil or anything, so that's really nice. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the other 2 sides. You do want this to be as flat as you can get it. So again, I'm sort of using static electricity to pick up the foil, and then I'm pulling. And then on this other side, I'll do the same thing. So I've grabbed the foil, the edge of the foil, and I'm pulling it taut. I'm going to hold this up here, so I hope you can see how much of the foil is covered by the tape. Not much. Like the bottom's even smaller, but you can see more on the sides that there's not much foil that the tape is gripping, because I want to leave as much of the foil exposed as possible so that the machine can foil on it. Okay, so now I've got my maker here. Let me move this forward a little bit. Okay. So now I'm going to load my mat. You can see my load mat button is flashing, and I'm going to load the mat. Oh, one thing I forgot. We need to change out the blade. That would have been bad. Alright, so I'm taking the auto blade out, and I'm going to put the transfer tool, foil transfer tool in with the fine tip on. And so you just set it in, get it, make sure it's all the way down, lock it down. Alright, and now it's going to foil the gold. So I'm going to hit the C. Back over in the software, it's now telling us what we need to do. So this is extremely important. Do not unload the mat. Your instinct may be to do that, but do not do it. The reason is because the only way the machine can line up the red foiling and then the cutting with this gold foiling we've already done is if you do not unload the mat. So that's why it's very important. So it's telling us to remove the gold foil, load the foil transfer tool with the bold tip, so to change that, tape the red foil down, and then press the go button. So that's what I'm going to do next. I don't know if you can see. There's the design, the gold part's of the design on the paper. Alright, so now I'm going to lay down the red piece. And we're going to tape it exactly the same way I taped the gold originally. It's going to be a little bit trickier because the mat is in the machine, but as long as we cover the area that needs to be covered, we should be okay. And now I have to change the tip on the foiling blade. So I'm going to pop out and press the plunger down, pull out the fine point blade, and then I'm going to grab the bold one, which has got the 3 lines on it. I'm going to install that. Put it back into the B clamp. Sure this is down pretty well, and hit the Cricut button. Right back in the software, you can see it's prompted us again. Do not unload the mat, remove the used red foil, and then load the fine point blade and press the go button to resume. So that's the next step. Okay, so I'm going to remove this foil. You can sort of see, I don't know if you can, the lighting's kind of glary, but you can see where the foil has been, like the pressure has transferred the foil onto the paper. It's a little easier to see with the bold tip than it is with the fine tip. Okay, moment of truth. I don't know if you can tell, but it looks pretty good. Now it has transferred in a couple of areas up here and there, probably from my fiddling with the tape, but not a big deal. Alright, so I'm taking out the transfer tool, putting the auto blade back in. I'm going to hit go. Before I unload it, I'm going to check to make sure that it cut through. This is pretty lightweight cardstock, so it should have, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, alright. Peeling the star. The mat away from the star, rather than vice versa. Alright, now over in the software we are on cut 2. So you can see over here on the left it's highlighted, it's the red. We don't need more pressure now. We're going to go back to default. I am on heavy cardstock. I have the fine point blade is already in there, so I'm going to load my mat and hit go. There we go. Hit the flashing C. So now let's make our card. And this ends part 1 of my 2-part tutorial. For card assembly and cutting of the greenery, please watch part 2. The link is in the video description and at the end of the video. Here's a sneak peek of the completed card, good look at the foil. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You can find more from me always at my blog, blacksheep303.com. Supplies used in this are linked in the video description and on my blog. I would really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment, because I love getting comments and it helps my channel out a lot. Now I hope to see you in part 2. Thanks so much. Happy holidays.